everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So today I am back with another book review. I love doing reviews because I just love discussing the different books that I'm reading and sharing new stories with you guys. So today I am back with a review, and the book that I'm reviewing is A Comb of Wishes by Lisa Stringfellow. And I noticed in the past year that a lot more booktubers have been dipping into middle grade and enjoying it, and I'm so glad to see people reading across age category. And I noticed that, but like many things, I noticed that people are all gravitating towards the same middle grade books. So I love Amari and the Night Brothers. I really enjoyed that story. It was one of my highly anticipated releases. So like when I got an ARC, I was happy because I had been waiting for it ever since they had originally announced it. And at the time they originally announced it, we just knew that it was a multi-auction book and that Marcy Martin had picked up the rights to the film. So once being a Marcy fan, I was like, yes, I have to watch it. We didn't even know anything about it. I'm like, I need it. So I'm very happy that so many people have read and enjoyed and are sharing it, but there's more black middle grade stories out there than just that book. And I noticed it's become people's go-to rec, like the only thing that they've read, and they're kind of tokenizing it. And I don't like when black books end up getting tokenized on here. So the book that I will be talking about is another black middle grade, and I do recommend picking it up and reading something different. So many of you have probably already heard of Thejumbies by Tracy Baptiste. It came out a few years ago. That was another one that I was really excited about when it released, because Tracy is a Trinidadian author, and I knew the story would feature a lot of Trinidadian folklore. And my niece at the time was middle grade age, and her mom wanted me to do some reading with her during the summer. So I bought it, and I would have her read it out loud to me, and it was a lot darker than I anticipated for middle grade, which was really interesting. A lot of Caribbean folklore is pretty dark, so I liked the vibes that it was giving, and I really liked how the series ended up expanding. Book 2 was really fun, and it incorporated mermaids, which was my favorite thing. And then last year, Scholastic released Josephine Against the Sea by Shakira Bourne, and Shakira Bourne hails from the island of Barbados. And like the Jumbies, it also featured a young girl who lived with her father and whose mother was deceased, and it did partially deal with grief. But I like that the books were so different, even though they started off sounding kind of similar, because even my mom was like, didn't you already read that book? And I'm like, no mom, this is a different book. It just sounds a little bit alike, but it really ends up standing on its own and having its own tone, despite the similarities. And Josephine was just humorous and funny, and the town for me really came alive, and it also included local dialect, which was highly appreciated because it felt like watching my family members. And so I was very excited when A Comb of Wishes was announced, because it's also Caribbean inspired middle grade. And A Comb of Wishes also has that similar type of premise where it follows a girl whose mother is deceased, and she's living with her father in a small village. And the thing about A Comb of Wishes is, unlike those other two books, the passing of the mother was in the last 3 months. So we're really watching the main character, Keela, deal with a lot of grief. And unlike those other two books where she is pushing her father away, so they don't have as close of a relationship as they once did. So a lot of it, it's like Keela against the world. And I like that it incorporated the idea of storytelling within the community, which a lot of people don't like to acknowledge, but Black people have been telling stories for years and years and years. It's just that not all of our stories are written down. Most of our stories are passed by word of mouth. And there are a couple of storytellers in this book that are highlighted. And Keela's mom was doing, prior to her death, was doing research where she was documenting some of these stories about the sea people that were passed along by the storytellers. So I really appreciated that, because that is one conversation I've seen come up more too recently, is talking to the older generation in the Caribbean and writing down some of these stories so that they're not lost. So like I said, Keela is pushing people around her away because she's still feeling so much grief from the loss of her mother. So not only has she pushed away her father, but she's also pushed away her best friend and some of her neighbors. And the only thing that she's doing that she's had done before is she's still making her jewelry. She likes to make jewelry out of sea glass, which that was actually an interesting thing that the author kind of expanded on in her author's note. So when she originally wrote the story, Keela would make jewelry out of shells, and then somebody had who was, I think one of her beta readers, had informed her that there's about the impact to the beaches when you're collecting shells, because they are homes for some of the smaller organisms, and that they're also helping hold the beach together. So I found that really interesting. That's not something that I would initially thought about. And actually it reminds me of when my little cousin was watching PBS, and she had been watching some program on there, and she would pick up a lot of stuff from PBS. So one day she saw seashells on her grandmother's dresser, and she freaked out and gave her a lecture about how she's not supposed to take things from the ocean because that's wrong. So it kind of brought me back to that. And Keela makes these sea glass bracelets and necklaces, and like there's this whole legend behind the sea glass about being mermaids' tears. Like there's a specific one, and I thought that was really interesting too. And so one day when Keela is collecting sea glass, she happens upon this weird chest. Now, she's collecting sea glass in a coral reserve, and on her island there's a lot of protected areas, and she's not supposed to take anything from the coral reserve, but she ends up secretly taking this chest. And it was a struggle for her to get this chest. Like, she could have drowned, but she still grabs it, takes it home, opens it, and discovers this ancient comb. And she's not sure what to do with this ancient comb, and that, like, she's heard some stories about sea people, but she actually ends up getting visited by this like 300-year-old mermaid who contacts her through the mirror in her room, and she tells her that she will give her a wish in exchange for the return of her comb. So Keela only has one wish, and that is to bring back her mother, and things don't go as planned. So she ends up going to the sea, raking this comb across the water like she's instructed to, while wishing for her mom to return, and the comb snaps in half and breaks. Keela freaks out, grabs the comb, and does not end up returning it. So of course the mermaid, whose name is Ophelia, is furious. But Keela's like afraid because she knows something's gonna happen, because you don't double cross the sea people. She's heard enough stories about it. And plus, she made the mistake of telling one of her mom's colleagues that she has this comb because she wanted to know more about this comb. So then they end up getting reported to the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Culture, and they are instructed to return this comb. and then her dad finds out and takes the comb. No, it's broken, it's still valuable, and they want that because they're saying it's property of the government. But she has to return this comb back to Ophelia. And then her mom does end up returning, but her mom is not exactly the same. So even though it's great her mom is back, it's as if she never died. Like, she doesn't have the same energy. And I thought it was really interesting because people like in Caribbean do always warn you about messing with things you shouldn't be messing with, and that people won't come back. If you're trying to bring somebody back, they're not going to come back the way you want them to be. So I really like how the story did that, how the story handled grief, as Keela had to realize slowly that, you know, her mom is basically a shell of a person now. That's not the same person, because even though her body is there, her soul is not. And I liked how the mermaid lore was incorporated. It was really dark, which I appreciated. And like I said, I like the storytellers being featured in this book, and how they really had to realize that she does have a support system who does care about her and is here for her. So all in all, I do recommend that you pick up A Comb of Wishes. I think it's a really great story dealing with grief. So even though the Jumbies and Josephine Against the Sea also have similar premises, I like that each of the 3 books take that similar premise and explore it so differently. Like, Lisa Stringfellow is a teacher, so her approach is a little bit different in how she explores healing from grief, and she incorporates like those little things about the environment and about cultural preservation that weren't emphasized in the other stories. So it was a different outlook, and I enjoyed that as well. So let me know if you have read any of these 3 books in the comment section below. Are there any upcoming middle grade releases that you're interested in? And as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. It is Black History Month here in the US, so if you want to support a Black creator, just continue to share my videos. If you're interested in A Comb of Wishes or the Jumbies or Josephine Against the Sea, and you buy from Amazon, I have my links below in the description box. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!